on some narrow roads through the hills, and one morning at about 2 a.m. my tank slid down the side of the mountain after the road side gave way, but was stopped by a couple of large trees. The gunner in the turret, whose name was Ted Tizzard, received a slight head cut, but I was unhurt and the tank was on its side. After some discussion, we decided there was nothing we could do till daylight, so we decided to get some much needed sleep. It was daylight when I was awoken by a noise nearby and spotted a few soldiers with rifles. I shouted to my gunner mate, Ted, that we had company. I remember standing up and saying good morning, to which they replied in French, so we shook hands, as did Ted. It turned out they were free French and friendly, and they were guarding the railway line down below in the valley. They said they had access to some equipment which included large railway jacks. So some of the soldiers went down to get this gear. It's on the handle there?
Yeah, that's great. You'll get through it in no time. It's only been 12 minutes.
Right. When do you have to be back?
I don't have to be back at all. I've got the whole day.
Yeah. Right.
I'm very interested to hear what happens next.
Yeah. Within a few hours, they returned with 2 large railway jacks carried by a mule. And it was not long before we had the tank back on its tracks. I was able to check out all the tank's oils and mechanics and Ted the gunnery gear in the turret. Also, to help the tank tracks grip on this steep slope to the road, he did so with tree branches. When we decided everything was in working order and ready to go, we shook hands with all the Free French soldiers, thanking them, and made an offer to swap jobs, which they seemed happy to refuse. We then offered them some beans and cigarettes, etc., for which they gladly accepted. That's baked beans in tins.
And cigarettes in tins.
Yeah. Ted and I had then climbed aboard. I started the engine and we were able to drive up the steep slope and get back onto the road with very little trouble. Eventually, we came to a suitable gap on the left-hand side of the road, which turned out to be ideal, with a good view downhill for a couple of miles. We camouflaged the tank, leaving the turret clear and ready for action if needed, with Ted or myself in there continuously on guard. We had noticed several German planes patrolling overhead. I did not want to give them information that we were in the area. at that time, so resisted firing at them, situation that was soon to change. Later that morning, we saw a motorcyclist coming up the winding road down below towards us and stopping occasionally to look over the side. So we guessed and hoped he was looking for us. As he got within a short distance, I stepped into the road and beckoned him come towards a tank which was on the other side of the road. To our great relief, it was my brother Bob who had discovered we were missing when our unit had arrived at its destination down below in the early hours of that morning. We decided to celebrate the hearty breakfast. It was probably baked beans and bully beef with hardtack biscuits and a couple of mugs of tea.
Yeah, there is. It's probably been cold. There you go. Where's that? So that we can get a bit of vantage point. That's better.
Good.
Because if you move the there we go. That's good.
That continues to be recording.
Yeah. It'll be easy to type it out.
Yeah, good. It was because of my clear speech or what?
Yeah. That makes it a lot easier.
Where was I? As far as the bully beef, was I? Biscuits, mugs of tea, that's right. It was good for us all to relax for a short while before moving off to rejoin our unit. Bob led the way, and Ted was in the turret, ready for any possible danger, and in particular from the enemy aircraft above. Within a couple of hours, we had rejoined our unit, which was hidden in an olive grove, and we were then positioned in a fairly open area nearby to provide defense against enemy aircraft, because at that time we did not have our own aircraft for protection. However, our unit got within about 20 miles of Tunis and was met with German tanks and anti-aircraft and their anti-aircraft defences. Our first big action, which enabled us to help destabilise the enemy forces in the North Africa, took place several months later. The British Eighth Army, under General Montgomery, had started a big offensive against the Germans